Good day, I'm here. Hey, Gabriel here with the Icon Capture GPS Intelligence Brief for July 16th, 2026. All right, government affairs directors and influence practitioners, we need to talk. Because this is one of those boards where if you only look at the opportunity count, you are going to misread the market. Here's what I want to do with you today. I want to walk through the new opportunity flow, the legislative and executive movement, the regulatory and court signals, and then bottom line what this means if you're actually managing a portfolio right now and trying to decide where to lean in, where to stay patient, and where you may be kidding yourself. Before we start, this is the last brief before this terrain window narrows. 2 seats left in the GPS Terrain Movement Review. Terrain Update, 5,306 new opportunities. Who moved and who didn't? That signal is what opened this session, and it will not repeat the same way tomorrow. Code GPS619 at the-govcon.ai capture. Now, let's read the board. So let's get right to the facts. Over the last 168 hours, GPS surfaced 5,306 new opportunities posted on SAM.gov. 02 legislative signals, 0 federal hiring signals across 0 agencies. And all of that is happening while market BCL is 0% with 0 agencies stalled under the continuing resolution. This week's window of opportunity flow is quite robust, with 5,106 options lighting up the board. Yet, when you dig deeper, the capture terminal reveals a different narrative of accessibility versus sheer volume. While it's tempting to be dazzled by numbers alone, the absence of clearly defined amounts in top postings like the Medium Landing Ship Vessel Construction Manager and FEMA's Loghouse 2 solicitations suggests a level of caution. This is where compliance friction begins to nibble at the edges of opportunity. Interpreting this through the lens of business capture likelihood, BCL, where the percentage sits at a stark 0, it becomes evident there's a disconnect between the volume of opportunities and their qualitative accessibility. Managers who read this tape know that this friction can be the result of vague solicitation terms or potential protest risks on the horizon. These are opportunities where the details matter more than the headline figures. In such an environment, understanding the compliance landscape is crucial. The regulatory and court signal theme this week highlights the subtleties of lane changes in policy that might not be immediately apparent but can drastically impact bid competitiveness. This is a call for government affairs directors to dig into the specifics of each opportunity and not just the quantity. The capture ticker becomes integral here, providing a real-time pulse on any shifts or updates to these opportunities, allowing for rapid adjustments in strategy. The secondary signals this week paint an intriguing picture of the market's undercurrents. With no terrain holes, hiring shifts, or court opinions to navigate, the landscape might seem stable on the surface. However, this stillness can often be misleading. The absence of activity in areas like agency hiring or lobbying suggests a quiet before the storm, a market mispricing ripe for strategic positioning by influence practitioners. Without the typical flurry of court opinions or lobbying clusters, there's an opportunity to explore untapped channels. This lull in formal activity could mean that the real action is happening behind closed doors, in pre-decisional phases where influence is most potent. For government affairs directors, this signals a perfect time to leverage personal networks and informal channels to shape upcoming policy directions. The lack of hiring spread in particular suggests agencies might be holding back until clearer regulatory signals emerge. This is a cue for those reading this policy tape to prepare for a potential hiring surge once the regulatory dust settles. Aligning early with agencies' strategic priorities could position influence professionals to capitalize on imminent shifts. In sum, the current landscape requires a nuanced approach. While overt activity may be low, the subtle signals point to a need for proactive engagement and the cultivation of strategic relationships. Smart portfolio moves involve anticipating the next wave of regulatory or agency shifts and positioning oneself ahead of the curve. The market is highly dynamic, with zero agency stalls and no terrain holes, indicating a fluid regulatory environment ripe for strategic positioning. Are you equipped to navigate regulatory and court signals that may cause compliance friction or protest risk? Have you assessed your stakeholder positioning to adapt to potential lane changes? Are you prepared to leverage the current 0% baseline compliance level to your advantage? The key to maintaining influence in this landscape is staying agile and proactive, ready to pivot your strategy as the regulatory currents shift. Last thing before I sign off, and I want to be direct, 2 seats left in the GPS Terrain Movement Review. When this window closes, the terrain that justified it moves on. Tomorrow's signal will be different. The next session will read a different board. If the brief we just walked through gave you a reason to act, now is the time. Code GPS 619, communities.theicon.ai/capture, the-govcon-elite, 80.7 million records, 4 verticals ready. Provenance traced from bill to award. Like and subscribe if you're managing a federal grant, research, GovCon, or commercial portfolio. I drop a new GPS brief every weekday. All links, terminal preview, Shipley sessions, live cohort calendar, and the full brief are at communities.theicon.ai/capture/the-govcon-elite. Register free, and it's all there. This is Gabriel. I'll see you tomorrow. I noticed some inactivity and wanted to let you know